and Galco holsters. Galco, go check them out. Go check them all out on the website, and go check out all the companies and thank them. Without them, the show wouldn't be possible. I also want to take a minute, and I want to make sure that I ask for reviews. I do a terrible job asking for reviews everywhere podcasts are heard. Go ahead and leave a review, preferably 5 stars, but I appreciate everybody who takes the time to leave a review. And if you have any ideas on guests, when you guys leave a review, go ahead and leave in their guests you might want to see or hear from, or people maybe you stumbled across. I'm always open to those ideas too, and I do a crappy job asking for that feedback, so I appreciate you guys that do. But on to the guest. Today we got a special episode. He's local. This brand, I love this brand. I think everybody loves this brand in the firearms business. If you take a look at them, they really do some of the most innovative, fun stuff. I've always loved what they do over there. The owner's amazing. The ownership's great. And I had the opportunity to sit with my guest today, a few months back, and we spent some time together, and I really just dug his vibe, everything that he's doing, and everybody knows I don't like a lot of people. So, I really appreciate it. We got the one and only Paul Chiappa from BattleArms Development. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. Happy to be here.
Move that down. Get closer. Get intimate.
All right.
There we go. Better. So,
happy to be here, man.
Yeah, this is fucking awesome. Your brand, you kind of stumbled into a brand that I think, of course, you knew about before you got there, right? Mm-hmm. They were always kind of a sleeping giant out there. The stuff Absolutely. They did was so innovative, so cool, so fun. I don't think there's a person in the gun business that never stopped by and visited that table anywhere or any show that it was at. And when you got there, you had to pinch yourself because you really didn't have to do much cosmetically to the rifles, which is always a plus, right?
Absolutely. And that's been something that's been so easy about the brand, is that the aesthetics play so much to the design of the firearm. And we haven't had to do much with worrying about how our guns look, because with George's design on all these firearms, they end up looking that way anyway.
Pieces are just always been so beautiful and just so thought out. And honestly, there's never been a time that I can't remember that I was like, geez, that's not a good looking rifle.
Thank you.
It's just so good looking. And, the brand has done a phenomenal job establishing itself in other areas, whether it was the selectors, which recently you made an upgrade on the selector system. Those were always amazing. The stocks have been something that has come on strong the last few years. Everybody has always kind of said the same thing behind the scenes, like, wow, man, once they figure it out. And bringing you aboard, the last years, and obviously having this run has to free up some bandwidth to be able to go pursue some of those goals.
Absolutely. And that was one thing when we started the company. We started as a parts company. It was a small company, had an idea, a hole in the market that didn't exist, created that hole, filled that hole, and then George kind of just went crazy. He saw a way to improve everything about the AR-15 system, and we just continued to make those parts to enhance the way the system works, and it ended up being a full
and he's done it in an environment that it's tough to do it, because there's a million AR companies out there, right? So the AR market's flooded, and I think we all get sick and tired of walking by booths. And I joked with this with Neil at Ready Gunner and his wife, like, dealers, you get so sick of saying, here, hold my rifle, it's 0.2 ounces lighter than this other rifle. There's nobody really changing the game in that space. And you guys always had a way of kind of being like, we're doing something totally different. Mm-hmm. You never had to sell anybody on the weight, on the design. That was already there.
Yeah.
It was already established. And he's done such a great job establishing himself in the parts market. George, the owner, and Sylvia, the ownership, have done such a great job establishing themselves in the parts space that it was already predetermined that they had the best selector out there. They've had some of the best and most innovative stock systems out there. They've had some of the best and most innovative designs. So they were already like 3/4 of the way along. It was just a matter of bringing the whole pie together, and that's always a work in progress, right, and getting it over.
Absolutely.
But, we spent endless amounts of time, rapping about marketing and branding in the firearms business, and how you take a company to the next level, and how you get it to where it's going to get over, right? We'll use a wrestling term. How are you going to get it over? But that's always going to be a work in progress, and we've probably spent 45 minutes talking about that since you've been here. And, we'll be talking about that till the end of time, because the environment just changes so much with COVID and with everything going on right now.
Absolutely. It's been a fun ride, to say the least, with COVID and everything that's gone on. It's done a lot for our industry. It's also hard-pressed our industry, but, I'm blessed to say that we've been making the right choices on making sure that BattleArms can always produce and is not going to be in a position to where we're not going to be able to come through for our clients, our dealers, our distributors, down to the guy who buys the gun and make sure that you're always set up right. So we're dropping new machines on the floor. We just dropped 3 new machines. We're dropping probably a few more ASAP. We're doing way more in-house, just continuing to bring more in-house production to shorten that supply chain, minimize that supply chain,
tighten it up,
lead time, and create an easier system. And also, it's going to reduce cost, which is great. So our firearms are going to get even more affordable. And that's the biggest thing about our new line of guns is that there was kind of a narrative for the past couple of years is, man, I love that BattleArms gun, but it's so expensive. So now there's a BattleArms firearm in pretty much every price point that somebody can afford, depending on what you really want to get out of the gun. And that's where we offer so many different versions of each model that's going to be suitable for each customer.
Yeah, fleshing out your SKUs is always the toughest thing in the beginning, and getting owners to understand, I know you want to sell a Ferrari, but we also have to have something that gets people to the party.
Yeah.
You know, we want to have something for everybody, and getting them to understand that's tough. George, though, is unique because he's a brilliant mind in the business, and I don't think people argue that. He's someone that I think is more apt to understand that we want to get a gun in everybody's hands.
100%. That's his goal. So that's why he designed the models that he did, and why he brought me on, and why he's doing everything he's doing, is because he understands that I have a superior product in many ways. This is my design almost from the 100% from the ground up. I can create a gun for everybody, or I can create a Ferrari. You can have both. You know, you have our Authority, which is right here. So this is going to be our billet ambidextrous gun. So this is going to be our higher quality option for like a duty grade gun. And then we have the Workhorse, which is going to be based on our forged receiver sets, which is the everyman's gun.
Now explain to people that don't know the difference between billet and forged.
So this is machined from one solid block of aluminum versus a forging that then the manufacturer then finally machines. So we take one solid block and turn it into that for both of the upper and lower receivers.
Which creates the stronger fit and finish,
Correct.
which creates the continuous lines, the smoothness of the finish. You know, not that you don't get that in a forging, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the one big thing about our set versus a lot of other stuff is none of the triangles, none of the cuts is for aesthetic. That you know, George has a background in, you know, architectural engineering in general. That is all purposeful. You know, triangles are the strongest shape in nature. They're not there because they look cool. It just happens that they do. But they're there for a reason. That V cut in the magazine well is there for structural, you know, integrity. So the gun is purposefully cut in every way. So yeah, we're able to lighten it up by removing weight and moving material where we needed to, but it's for a reason, not for aesthetic. Just happens that the aesthetic's pretty awesome.
Now, I have to ask, because I think you guys are at the forefront, and you guys are the SMEs in design. I don't think that's a question. I think between you guys, you know, you look out into the space, maybe Christensen Arms, there's some folks out there that just, I think, are at the forefront of design. Where do so many rifle companies go wrong with design?
You know, there's a lot of different ways, but I think people that
Talking on the mic.
oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, no.
I think people that don't have a purpose behind what they're doing with that design is, or maybe that don't have somebody behind the product that understands whose hands it's really going to go into and what those designs are really going to end up yielding to the end user. So this was designed to be the best fighting tool that you can purchase for a reason. We want it lighter, we want it stronger, we want it to be reliable. So how do we get to that goal? And then the design comes from that goal versus this is going to be cool.
Right.
Let's make it.
Yeah, and then there's always the rudimentary conversation of how much do I spend, where do I fit on the shelf, and this is speaking as both the consumer and, you know, a company trying to put a gun on some FFL shelf or gun shop, for everybody that doesn't know what an FFL is. You're trying to figure out and do that dance of being in, as we talked about, that right price point, that sweet spot, which for years was dominated by the Daniel Defenses of the world because they nestled right into that $1,100 to $1,500 space. Now, because of the environment, it's all out of whack.
Yeah.
And what you have is people paying crazy amounts on the street, people paying crazy amounts in the store, boxes of ammo are through the roof. We're going to see a little bit of a reset in all this, and we talked about this a little offline. I think we're going to go through a period, I think anyway, of some companies surviving in this and some companies thriving.
Absolutely.
I don't think that's a question that a lot of companies will survive. Who will thrive and who will come out of this setting up their marketing for the long run, setting up their SKUs for the long run, preparing themselves for what November will look like and beyond, and setting up their business to continue to not only gain market share, but also gain what I call a client.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between a customer and a client. A client is going to buy multiple products from you. A customer is going to buy one and go.
100%. And
you want clients. And when you create a line of rifles, and the way in the manner that you guys have, you want to go after those client type acquisitions. You want to have a sticky product that somebody's going to say, geez, you know what? I have this one, but I really want that one too.
Which we see a lot in the people who purchase our firearms is generally these guys love our brand and they want to own multiple versions of our firearm because we offer so much differences in each model and there's obvious benefits. Now, when it comes to price point, you know, that where you should live in that price point, that's going to be on what you want to get out of the gun. I mean, that's why we have what we have. We have the Workhorse line, which is our basic forged premium duty rifle. We have the Authority, and then we go into our PCC stuff, our Xiphos, and then we have the 308
I love
guns.
that PCC, actually.
Yeah,
I was looking at that the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to reset, though, Paul. I think we don't know what that's going to look like in terms of time and what an affordable rifle is going to look like, if you catch my drift. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think we're post-COVID, it's going to be a little bit of a reset. And I think the shelf space is going to reset because every FFL got cleaned out.
Oh, yeah.
So now it's about harnessing those relationships with the Sports Souths, the RSRs, the Davidsons, and being ready to grab market share once these FFLs are flush and they're spending money again. The mistakes FFLs make, and I had a long talk with the NSSF about this and what other, is when they're flush with dough, they're just trying to get anything on their shelves. And then 100%. They make the same mistake that they made prior to COVID, which is they're just throwing Ruger 1022s or anything they can find on their shelf, and then they're stuck with a lot of shit they can't move 100%. Over time, and they can't turn the product over. Which leads me to the next thing. You know, I'm shocked, and I brought this up to somebody, that a firearms company hasn't come in prior to COVID, at least. I mean, now they won't need to, but done an aggressive buyback program or a system where they can get that shelf space. But I think that they have. It's just not openly talked about in the marketplace as much.
That happens a lot in like the law enforcement market. Is you'll see manufacturers buy back.
They do it in the lube market now. We did it at Breakthrough. I mean, buyback programs, because what happens is you get a lot of lubricants that'll sit on the shelf. You know, people buy it once and then like it never turns over and FFLs can't move it. And it's not a high dollar cost item. It's something like we would go in, snatch up like some old hoppies that have been sitting there for 1,000 years and be like, we want that space. You're not moving it. Sell it to us and we'll give you ours.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, in the gun space, I know companies have done it, but it's kind of one of those untalked about things. But now, post-COVID, you're not going to need to do that. I think garnering the relationships at the distributor level. But it was interesting because I had a long talk with Tom Taylor about this, and some of it was on air, where we were talking about getting closer to the end user. And I do believe that distribution is going to change drastically. And I do think it's going to start to come back to direct sales, and direct sales coming from your office straight into the FFL as opposed to going through some of the distributor networks, because it's too many steps.
Understandable. Yeah. No, that's something we currently do. Is I'm dealing with the individual customer, the individual FFL, and the distributor, the wholesaler, and everybody is I'm 100% in link with those. So I've created a structure for those dealers that go direct with me to be massively beneficial for them. And I do very well with that, and they do very well with my product because of that, which then creates a very, very good mutually beneficial partnership, and I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, now's a great time to get aggressive, to get that shelf space and lock it in and get guys to commit. It's going to be interesting, especially now with SHOT Show kind of looming out there, and as SHOT Show comes and gets closer, we're in for a whole new environment, and we're always affected by the theater that we're in at that particular time. And right now we're in a unique theater in that we're dealing with PPE, COVID. So, masks, everything else has become the in vogue thing. Are we witnessing the end of, the camo and everything else at SHOT Show, and it's going to move more towards the PPE type stuff and, getting more into, with the rise in NICS checks, the end user being somebody we don't know. And it's really kind of a question mark right now. I believe a lot of guys like you and I went out and bought a ton of guns or have a ton of stuff or move pieces around, but I also think there's a lot of new gun owners out there, and there's a lot of new people out there that are purchasing and participating in the purchase process that really, at the end of the day, don't know what that end game looks like. You know what I mean? And what that end game could be. What do you think?
100%. I think you definitely nailed on the head with, will you see more PPE at SHOT Show? 100% you will. Just looking at, currently, like you said, who's thriving and who's surviving, who's going to actually exhibit at SHOT Show. I think there's going to be a lot of open spaces, especially with the addition of that new, was it Caesar's Forum?
Yeah, they're what they did was they got so many companies, and again, this is shout out to Mark Olivia. This is according to Mark and some of the guys at NSSF. They got some companies to commit to the new area, and
we'll be there.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a hit or miss thing. It's going to be interesting how they flow traffic, but I believe I have a different school of thought. I don't think that's a bad idea. But I think there's way too many companies at SHOT Show that shouldn't be there. And I think that comes back to and I'm being critical, Mark, if you're listening, of the NSSF model. I think that they let too many companies in. Everybody who makes a pouch doesn't need a booth at SHOT Show. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. I think that there's too many companies out there that think SHOT Show is the gateway drug for them to be successful. And I don't think that that's the case, Paul. I think that there's too many people in that basement that you've seen it 100 times. They show up for a couple years, and then they're gone. And they've probably spent over that 3 years $150,000, $200,000 on booth space, easy.
At least.
And they really never gained anything from it, because if they did, they would still be in business. Mm-hmm. And they probably never should have been there to begin with, because they don't have a solid model to stand on.
What's about your attitude and how you're going to treat SHOT Show? Is if you think you're just going to show up and
$1 million deal
and $1 million deal is going to walk by, it's not the case. Any trade show, I spend 2 to 3 months prior to that trade show reaching out to my potential clients and making sure they are going to come see me, that we have a conversation before that they know what they're getting into before they come see me, schedule appointments, and make sure that I'm booked all the way through SHOT Show. If you rely on the fact that there's people walking around your booth and maybe one of those people is going to be a client, you're not going to get any business, and you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars.
If you're not booked out with 2 to 3 meetings 3 months out from SHOT Show each day, you're not doing it right.
I'm every hour on the hour.
You're not doing it right. And that can be a mix of marketing meetings, sales meetings, brand development type meetings, things that could lead to things down the line, pipeline. Yeah, so developing your pipeline. But I just think that there's too many companies, and maybe this isn't critical of NSF, but I think the model proliferates that they want to sell booth space to generate revenue, booth space to revenue, booth space to revenue. And it's almost like trading time for money. If you're trading your hours in your day for money, you're never going to be rich. It's the bottom line. And I just think that there's other things that they could do, and there's a lot of space upstairs, and there could be other ways for people to exhibit. But I've seen, especially in the soft goods department, too many companies come on that have a few soft goods that I'm like, what are you thinking spending $100,000 on SHOT Show, $70,000? A small booth and taking a team of 4 people there costs you a fortune. And it's like, what are you trying to get out of it? So I always look at it like this, Paul. If you're building the building blocks of success in a brand and developing a brand, you have to look at dollars to donuts, what that return is going to be and how you're going to be successful getting a yield out of something. I don't like to say ROI, yield. Because if you say to me, hey, in year 1, I don't expect to get anything out of SHOT Show other than meetings. But we're a work in progress. This is what I see in year 2. This is what I see in year 3. It's a plan. It's a system. And I think too many companies don't necessarily see the light at the end of the tunnel or don't have that plan. They're just kind of showing up, winging it, saying, I developed this little pouch. I don't mean to hold the awesome lever because that's not what I mean. But this awesome pouch, whatever that is, and someone's just going to walk over and they're going to buy 10,000 units.
We have very, very specific goals when it comes to SHOT Show. And one of the biggest things for us, why it's just almost always worth it for us to do SHOT Show, is how much international business we do. So that's a great place to just meet those people. And, we put it out there of what we do, and a lot of the times that those international clients will just come to us to see what we do offer. And it ends up turning into something great for us. So our international side is definitely a major point for us to go to SHOT Show. So against that pre-planning, knowing what you want to achieve at a SHOT Show or any trade show, And
Yeah,
truly
I think,
execute it.
I just think what it comes down to is, will that other room be successful? I think it will, but I think it's a matter too of they got to trim some of the fat downstairs too. And it's not about telling people no; it's about restructuring it so that maybe those people have booths upstairs. Maybe there's something different. Maybe there's another room. Maybe Glock doesn't need that whole room upstairs for a party, and you turn that room into something and move that party somewhere else. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I would have liked to see all the booths stay in one place and see the Glock party go somewhere else. Because then you could take that whole room that's already up there and use that.
For sure.
That's what I would like to have seen. But it's not my show. I love you, Mark. I love everybody over there. But I would have structured it differently. And then there's a lot to be said about, how they structure particularly the events and the things and the learning experiences and the teaching things, that they put in upstairs. But that's a whole different conversation for another time. As far as the brands go, we've seen so many rifle brands come and go, and this COVID created really a unique opportunity for so many companies to have a breath of fresh air and maybe reevaluate what they're doing and maybe get it right. Do you feel that, the companies that right now are taking advantage of this moment of cash coming back on the books, of being able to move product, do you feel that, we're witnessing kind of not just a resurgence, but maybe a purging too?
100%. It's going to all be about the individual goal and vision of each one of those companies. If you're taking this influx of business and using it as a way to springboard to where you want it to go, you're going to be successful, which is what we're doing. If you're just taking the money and running, of course, you're going to
go back into the same habits.
Enjoy the extra cash, and then you'll be back.
Rinse and repeat.
So it's all about, are you taking this opportunity to take your company to the next level? And that's what we're doing every day. George is a maniac on the phone, just making sure we have a supply chain, what we're doing to continue that supply chain over the next year, 2 years, locking down big deals with distributors, keeping everybody happy, making sure that we have every single thing we need to make sure our lead time is constantly diminishing. We're not going to be back ordered into 2021, that we're continuing our quality control process. Nothing's getting through, no bad stuff's getting through. We're making sure everything's QC'd 100%. Everything's built to our standards. Everything's done correctly. And to not slack at all in this time where it's just we need to get guns out of the door. Needing to get guns out of the door and putting something out that we're not proud of is two different things.
And politically, I do believe that guns are going to be a tough issue to tackle in the upcoming debates and in the upcoming political environment, because we have so many new gun owners that we don't know, and I'm using air quotes, who they are per se. They could be people that were on the fence, people that were in the middle. From what we're hearing from gun stores, a lot of people who were pro-gun but hadn't necessarily purchased a firearm yet were the ones who jumped out and went out and made purchases. So there are, there's a lot of room right now to get after that base, not only for your business, but also it makes it tough for the guys running to try to say, oh, I'm anti-2A or whatever, because you don't know who those owners are. There's not going to be enough polling, not enough data to understand who those new gun owners are. So it's going to make for a very interesting environment come November and how this plays out.
Oh, I 100% agree. And one thing I think not a lot of people really realize about people, again, who might not own guns currently is everyone thinks they're on one side of the fence. Everybody's on the fence. Is when you live somewhere where you have freedom and you have the ability to have or do something.
Right.
It's always a thought in the back of your mind is, well, I could do that if I wanted to. So you're always on the fence, and it's just a matter of how you get pushed.
I did a Twitter poll. I'm going to throw it at you. I just want to pull it up. I had 1,870 votes, and I asked, do you own a gun or want to? It's interesting how I phrased it. This is an important poll. If you have no desire to ever own one, please let me know why down below. 47% of the 1,800 votes own one. 53% want to. So what that tells me is there's a huge segment of the population that still haven't purchased a gun. Whether it's fear to walk into the store, which is fine, that happens, intimidation, whatever. We have to help them get over that through marketing and through forums like this and getting people to understand the process, because maybe they're not familiar with the paperwork, maybe they're not comfortable with the paperwork, maybe they don't understand. Or it's people that just haven't got around to it yet but will. And that's encouraging information. And I phrased the question that way, and I asked it that way, and I purposely wanted to see how many votes. I got 1,800 votes. It's right here. It tells me that 900 plus people of that poll, they're interested in buying. It's a larger number than already do. Mm-hmm. That is encouraging to me if I'm selling a product right now in this environment.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
And it's how do I get that person to pull the trigger and buy my product?
100%, yeah.
You know, and a lot of times, you know, I'll put questions like that out there on Twitter to kind of see where things are. I could have put it differently. I could have said, do you own a gun? Do you not own a gun? Mm-hmm. I put it that way because I want to see how many people don't own one but are interested in owning one, but just haven't taken the step yet to put pen to paper.
And that's what a lot of this, you know, COVID, the riots and everything it did is just, it was the final push for a lot of people to, and just like it was after Sandy Hook and pre-election, you know, in 2016, it's sometimes all it does is take that little bit of push. It's just like, I've been thinking about it, but I've got stuff going on in my life. I'll think about this later. I don't want to spend the money, whatever it is. And then there's outlining circumstance where, okay, I want to do it now. And you get pushed over that fence. And there's millions of people in this country right now that are sitting on the fence on whether they want to purchase a firearm or not that don't own them right now.
And I do think October, November, maybe into December will be the time that will kick people over. Oh, yeah. And it's going to be the time where, not necessarily because I think this will be, you know, this huge referendum or you know, a vote or make people into panic, but I think we both know whether Trump wins or Biden wins, it's going to cause some kind of run on the market. Oh
yeah, we're not going to. I don't believe we're going to see a downfall in sales or the market itself, whether Trump is elected or not.
No, it's still going to be there.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm excited. I think it makes everybody kind of put a greater emphasis on their process, on their product, on what they're going after for market share, how they're going to go after their market share, and how they're going to really get their product into the end user's hands and or show them a path to the process that makes it successful for you to get that acquisition.
Yep. No, I can't agree more. It's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Now, the $1 million question is, you go to SHOT. You obviously work for one of the funner brands. I ask every guest this, you know, that's been on, you know, I pull no punches. Who else do you look at out there that you really like what they're doing? It doesn't necessarily have to be in the AR space.
Probably the first thing I'm always at the booth I always visit is Vertex.
Oh,
I love.
Of course,
I'm a junkie when it comes to their products. So I've got way too many of their bags. There's one.
We're all bag hoes.
Yep. I love the pants, the hats, the shirts. I wear the plaid a lot from them, and I love their brand.
I say it all the time, Paul. You know, I said this to multiple guests. When people ask me, oh, there's been no innovation in the gun game, I said, have you seen soft goods? Mm-hmm. Soft goods have had tremendous innovation. Huge. Yeah. I mean, 10 years ago, you couldn't find a pair of pants that didn't scream, you know, wannabe Navy Ninja.
I'm carrying a gun.
Yeah, I'm carrying a gun. Yep. Now you can buy something fun, easy that you'd wear, and you don't feel like, you know, you're going to boot camp.
100%. And yeah, like I'm not military, I'm not law enforcement. I'm just a guy who sells guns, but I carry one every day, and I like to wear something.
And we're bigger guys. You want something comfortable. You want something you can wear. You want something that's airy. You want to be able to comfortably carry what you want to carry, and you don't want to have to deal with looking like you're ready to retake Omaha Beach.
Yeah, not at all.
You know? But I think soft goods has grown tremendously. Like now the bags, we're not dependent on the cheesy 511 bag. Not, you know, 511's come a long way, but I'm saying the old school 511 bags that look like
covered in Molly.
Yeah. I mean, it's not so I'm really, you know, and again, shout out to Dan and everybody at Vertex. They've done a phenomenal job being frontline leaders really in that space, and there's other brands that have done a phenomenal job. Who else do you look at?
I'm a big holster guy, and I think, you know, that's something that I'm always looking at. QVO Tactical, probably my favorite Kydex holster company. And then I'm looking at whatever Safariland's coming out with. Cause
they're the monster.
So whatever they're doing with their RDS series holsters, I always want to know. And then for me, I'm a flashlight whore, a complete flashlight junkie. And so whoever's got the newest, brightest flashlight, I'm
10,000 lumens.
Yeah, so I carry a Mod Light handheld here, and this thing has been unbelievable. The candela, for me, it's not even about lumens anymore. It's about how much candela it has. So this thing has been amazing.
I think, you know, there's been this to everybody listening, there's been two wars in the firearms business that have been the most amazing to see play out. And if you've been in the firearms business long enough, you'd know what I'm talking about. There's the lube wars and the lumen wars. There's been two. And it's like an arms race to see who can make the best lubricant. Like, oh my God, I baked my lubricant and made brownies with it. Like, I can do this, I can do that. And then with the lumens, it was like, how many lumens can we get into a flashlight? And we get 9,000 lumens. We can burn a forest down with this flashlight. So there's been so much fun in that space to see that play out. And I can remember like when Enforce came on the scene and they were creating tremendous value, dollars to lumens. You know, you could buy a flashlight now for $100. It wasn't $900. And there was so much cool stuff to see in the space. And I think, you know, you're absolutely right, especially in the light game. It's fun to see how that's played out the last, especially 3 or 4 years, you know, as it's tightened up.
I'm a total sucker for them. Just take my money. I want the flashlight.
Yeah. It's and there's some cool innovative brands. I know what's a Cloud Defensive has come on. There's been some cool brands that have come on that are kind of trying to innovate it a little bit and push it. I think too, one of the unsung heroes, and I think we'll be talking about it more as time goes on, is the night vision and thermals and the cost of them.
Big into that too.
The cost of them.
We have a good relationship with AGM Global Vision, and we have quite a few of their products.
Very familiar with those guys. Yep.
And I think they make awesome stuff. I'm constantly behind. I have a set of their AGM 50s, yeah, any chance I get.
Yeah, I think in that space, particularly, there's no one company. You brought up AGM, and they're a phenomenal one. But I think in that space, just as we keep seeing the price ratchet down, it's going to get more exciting. And I think that's what we're witnessing. Before, you couldn't touch thermals or night vision.
Oh, yeah. You had to have a good amount of money, and you had
to be a lawyer. You had a
dispensable amount of time to go play with it, too. And, you know, somebody that's involved with BattleArms, a good friend of mine, his name's Don Edwards, runs Green Line Tactical. If you're looking to get trained on night vision, learn about night vision, anything like that, that's who you should go to. So when Don came out for SHOT Show, we had a little night vision shoot out where we shoot in the desert, and there's like maybe 15, 20 of us, complete pitch black. We're all on nods shooting. He goes, Paul, take a couple steps back with me. He goes, pull your nods up. And I can't see my hand in front of my face, and all I hear is round smack and steel. And he goes, it's a superpower.
It is.
It's a superpower.
It's an equalizer.
Yep, 100% agree.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it's a force multiplier for sure. There's no question. I mean, if you've seen Silence of the Lambs, you know that. But you know, I think that there are spaces to talk about that have had great success and great growth, and we can be proud of. And it's not always in the AR space. I think we get blinded by the AR or the pistol, and we're always like kind of searching for like what's the most exciting and latest and greatest, and we're talking about this ninja trigger or that. But there are so many spaces to look at and admire. I do ask every guest this, especially somebody with your insight. When you walk around the show floor, and I talked about this at length with Jerry Michalik and with some other guests, are there brands and companies you look at, you know, from afar, and you just kind of wish they'd get it right, or you just kind of wish they'd figure it out, or you wonder what went wrong or what happened?
I can't think of a specific brand off the top of my head, but I have had that thought while walking around, like, what is going on there? If they would just do this would be amazing. But there's going to be a lot of that. I mean, when you have such a big market that we have, and a lot of people that unfortunately kind of take what one person did and kind of put their spin on it.
I think because we love this game, and Jerry brought this up, and we talked about this, I think we look at brands like Colt and even Browning to an extent, because Browning puts its logo on everything now, and we're not quite sure what's going on there. Are they making water bottles, or are they making guns? And I'm not picking on those brands. What I'm saying is the industry needs those brands. We need them to be strong. We need them to figure it out. You know, I can't imagine a day that you wouldn't want to go buy a Colt.
Yeah.
Like when I grew up, that was such an iconic brand. And I think that selfishly, as students of the game, we do wish some brands would figure it out, because we need them. And we need them to be frontline leaders, and we need them to be innovators, and we need them to get back out into the forefront and engage. You know, it's kind of like we're stronger together. And when we have those brands strong, it helps the environment as a whole, because rising tides raise all ships. Yeah. So I think, selfishly, you know, we look out into the marketplace and we're like, damn, you know, I wish they would just figure it the fuck out. Or we wish, you know, that they would just, you know, maybe do this, or, you know, try that, or just maybe, innovate this way. Or so I think we do that from afar all the time as executives in the business and as guys who've been in the gun business for a long time. But maybe we're just being selfish, and at the end of the day, some of those brands, it's just not meant to be, and the timing is just not in the cards, because there are so many other spaces that
it's innovate or die. That's
so
really
true.
That's in the gun business. That's the 100% the truth. Whatever you've been doing, if you've been doing it for too long, you've been doing it for too long, you need to change. Is innovate or die, and that is the truth. So a lot of the companies that we're talking about, had a business model that was successful and a product line that was successful for X amount of years, and they thought that was going to go into oblivion. There's always the next new thing, and you have to be on the cutting edge. And that's what especially the commercial aspect of our business wants. Where's the next cool new toy or new firearm or new light or whatever it is that I want to buy? They don't want the same thing over and over again. And then how many people do you have that have the same product in their hand or whatever it may be? So, innovate or die.
Yeah, and I think, one of the mistakes so many, brands make is not seeing the process all the way through. One of the things I've admired about BattleArms Development through the years is the time that was taken, not just in the product, but also the packaging, the delivery to the market, the ability to actually add value when you put on, like, there's no question your selector switch adds a value to a firearm, when you place it on. It enhances the value of the firearm in use, end user, finish, actual application. And I think that's something that does get a little bit lost in the innovative process. Like, too many people are like trying to slap something on a gun for the sake of slapping it on a gun.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the problems when people think, like you said, innovate or die. When they think of innovate, they think, well, we'll just make a little piece of cloth, or we'll just add a little something, a widget.
That safety you have right in front of there is a prime example of that. We have been massively successful with our badass line of safeties for almost 10 years at this point.
Yeah, if you don't know that product, you're not living in the gun. You haven't shot a gun.
And it's great. We are so proud of what we've been able to do with the badass, but George knew he could make it even better. So he sat down and he redesigned the badass into what you got right there, which is the Badass Pro.
The Pro.
So we've made a bunch of improvements to the original design. It no longer has an external set screw. The set screw is inside the center, and you actually loosen it to tighten it against the lever. It's a 3-point taper lock, so pretty much once it's snug, it's not going anywhere. And then on top of that, we've changed a little bit about the center of the safety so that we have better compatibility with aftermarket triggers, better compatibility with every receiver on the market. And then on top of that, it's a reversible only safety. So no longer you're buying a short throw variant or a 90-degree variant. It's a reversible 90 or 60-degree throw. You get it all at once. And it's at an MSRP of $45. So it's
amazing.
Yeah, we dropped the price point way down. We've been able to streamline the production on these things, and we're super happy with the way it came out. So we've got a couple different versions of it. What I got you right there is the basic Badass Pro, the reversible 90-60, and then we do a couple different. We have a tritium lever version with the Badass Knight. Then I have the light version on that one, which is a billet lightweight version. And we're gonna go pretty crazy with it. But we're again, innovate or die. So we had a product that was successful. This has been great for this many years. We can make it better. We can reintroduce it to the market. Why the hell not?
Why not?
Yep.
Why not? I think that is, though, one of the things that gets glazed over. I don't think enough companies go into it, and when they're setting up a product or taking a product to market, they're really looking at it in a way that says, are we adding value? Does this enhance? Are we making this better? Does this make sense to add on to a rifle or so on and so forth? So it's exciting to see you guys do that, and, in a way that is almost self-critical, which companies never do. Never do. Yeah. Like, we did something great, but we're going to try to do it better. So I love seeing that, and I think that's something that's really important, to always look in the mirror first as a brand. Now, where does it go from here for BattleArms? What's the goal, and what's the next steps as you kind of steer into SHOT Show? Because we got no time left. I mean, it's August.
Yeah.
In reality.
Pretty much every trade show and event that I would have gone to this year has been canceled. So we're sticking here home in Las Vegas and getting the work done. So the next big thing for us is just to, again, streamline that production, drop new machines on the floor, make things more affordable, do better with that. And then on top of that, the biggest thing is we instituting new models. So you're going to see a bunch of new firearms come out from us at SHOT Show, kind of in-betweeners, stuff that's like, well, you don't want to jump directly from the workhorse to the authority. We've got something for you. We've got different barrel length coming out, different gas system style stuff coming out, And then one thing I'm really, really happy to introduce is, again, our Silent Pro, which is a brand new firearm for us, is a 300 Blackout PDW. We have a couple different things coming out with that. That's been very, very successful for us. We're really happy, but we're making a couple changes. We're going to come out with something new. And then pretty much just continue to innovate. So like you saw with the Badass Pro, we're just going to keep doing that with all of our products. Nothing's going to stay the same for very long, and we're just going to keep making new and interesting stuff that people can be proud to put on their guns and that solves issues. And that's one thing that, especially with the ambi safety came out, is because George saw an issue, is that this product should exist. It should be modular. It should be this. Let's create it. So as more people own firearms and more people have individual things that I wish this firearm had this, we're going to continue to produce products that solve those issues.
Now, where does it go for here for the gun industry, in your opinion?
What do you mean?
Where does it go?
Oh, like us, or just the whole
Give me your
industry?
global view on where it goes from here, post-COVID.
I think we're going to have a steady, what you're seeing right now in the industry is going to be steady till at least April next year. And then you may see some sort of plateau as maybe either if there's potential riots or anything of that nature coming down as it kind of flattens out. But the market share has expanded indefinitely because of all the new firearms owners. So it was like the same thing after Sandy Hook. Is you had all these guys. I just bought a gun for the first time. I bought it for a very specific reason. Like, I was scared either going to ban this or I needed this for personal protection, but now I like it. And now I want to shoot it on the weekend every weekend. And I don't like this about my gun, so I want to buy a rail system. I don't like this about my gun, so I want to buy ambi safety. And the market blew up. And now you have all these little other manufacturers that came out from Sandy Hook that have created a market share and created a whole end of this business. And I think that's going to explode again. And where I think it's going to be the biggest is places like us with, interesting parts, the flashlight companies that got the soft goods, is individual needs that never existed before. Just like you said,
Brand
like,
alliances.
Yeah, if you wanted a good backpack, it's like, oh, I had to buy this tactical, covered in Molly
Ninja bag,
3-day backpack versus I have a Vertex Gamut checkpoint over there that looks like a normal backpack that could take anything with me.
And I think it's going to evolve media-wise, too, with how ambassadors, influencers, and people who can help brands work. And I think, like we've talked about this, like now just showing up at a booth and saying, gee whiz, I have an Instagram, it's not enough anymore. Like the first question I'm asking as a pseudo media director for multiple brands, I'm always saying, well, what else you got? It's just, I think that will evolve because I think brands are getting more educated and more people are coming into power, if you will, that understand the marketplace. And it's just not enough to just have an Instagram or just have an Instagram presence. And that's a conversation I'm having with a lot of people. I think blogging's having a resurgence. I said this the other day, and I'm going to say it on air, and the two people I mentioned this to will probably want to kill me, but I think there's a huge gap in the women's market for a woman to get a blog going or firearms, something along that line. It's the fastest growing market with the least amount of bloggers or people out there actually seizing the marketplace. I said to one particular woman, I'm not going to name who it is, I said, if she'll probably listen and she'll know who she is, but I said, if you started a blog and you started almost like a firearms blog or a news page and it was woman run, the line would be out the door for people who want to buy advertising on it.
There's not enough women in the firearms industry giving information to women.
There it is.
Personal experience is everything with this stuff. It's like I as a man can't tell you because of what I use and how I apply that.
It'll
stuff.
make sense for you.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
There needs to be more women telling women their experience with carrying firearms, using firearms, and the products they use, the methodologies of their using them, and giving that education to them that way.
And I'm not putting anybody out there down in any way. I think just showing up though and saying, hey, I have an Instagram and I got 20,000 followers. I think the answer they're going to get from a lot of guys like you is going to be, yeah, and like, what else you
100%.
got? Because there's just too many people out there in that space. It's too crowded. If you're not differentiated and you don't have your hand in other pots and you're not doing other things. But I think there's a huge, because of the nature of COVID, there's a huge resurgence in blogging, huge resurgence in shorter, tighter video clips, almost mini-mercials. We're seeing a lot of companies utilize IGTV differently and start to create space. I just think you have to be, as you said, innovate or die. So I think that space is going to go through a huge evolution, especially this shot into next shot, because brands are looking around right now. They're hungry and they want to outsource some things, and they do have some extra money in their pocket, not necessarily because of sales, but also because of not doing shows. And they're looking for places to lay that cash down and figure out what direction they want to go in. But just being an influencer isn't enough.
Not at all. And we don't, and as a company, we're not looking to, just hire a pretty face to hold my gun. When it comes to marketing our firearms, is we have a purpose behind our product, and we have a very clear vision of how we want our product portrayed, and just a number with a K at the end of it in your following doesn't really do much for me.
No. Listen, I love what you guys do. I think BattleArms Development has been one of the 4 leaders in design, as I said earlier, fit and finish, and just, cornering the market on some of the right products within the rifle system to garner market share and to gain the respect of the market, which, not a lot of people do. Okay, and they don't get it right. But starting with the selector and working their way around the rifle and developing things smartly and getting it out to market priced appropriately, which has always been critical. George has done a phenomenal job, and I think you coming on is a step in the right direction in terms of starting to get it in the right hands of the right people to start to continue to grow that market share. So it's going to be fun to watch how you guys develop over the next 6-12 months. So I'll be paying attention. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too, man.
It's going to be fun.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to, build a relationship with you and, these local guys. And I'm just blessed to be living in Vegas. I'm from South Florida. This is a huge culture change.
Yeah.
And I love it out here.
It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to it. Let everybody know where to find you, where to find the brand, and where they can look you guys up.
Absolutely. You can check all of our products out at www.battlearmsdevelopment.com, Instagram at BattleArms, Twitter at BattleArms. All that stuff's on our website. All of our products are on our website, and pretty much everything's shipping daily. We're trying to keep up with the demand of the market, as you all probably know, but we're doing our best, and we thank you guys so much for sticking with us.
Yeah, of course. It's been an amazing run so far with this COVID, so we'll see how this all plays out. And I'll put the links down below for BattleArms. You got to go check them out. If you haven't used one of their selectors through the years, you're just not doing it right, and I think you need to. So go check them out. And they came out with the new Pro, and I still can't believe it, $45. I remember when these things were like $89 back in the day. But I appreciate you taking the time to come down here and let me check out some of the rifles. I'm going to spend some time looking at them.
Absolutely.
But this is, we've been fortunate to be friends for a minute, and it's been, a lot of fun getting to know you and your philosophy and pick each other's brains. And we talk probably for an hour every time we see each other, at least, which is a lot of fun. And then finally we put it on air.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to it. And, of course, always my love to George and Sylvia. Love BattleArms Development. Love what they're doing. Looking forward to what they produce at SHOT Show and beyond. So go check them out and check the links down below. I want to take a minute to thank all the sponsors: Blackwater Ammunition, Gallo Technologies, of course, Rhino Metals for the tables and everything you see here in studio. And, of course, I got to thank Galco Leather and Galco Holster. So I appreciate them and appreciate everything that they do. And, of course, BattleArms Development today for stopping in. Can't thank you enough, Paul. Go check Paul out. He's doing a phenomenal job over there. And go visit him at SHOT Show if you stop by the booth.
Absolutely. I'd love to see you guys there.
Dynamite.
Sweet. That was easy.